without a hat, nice yarmulke, beautiful. Ron was right, but I'm going to say it publicly while he's here, that, and it's not only from the slumma, but Svarim in general can never be makabel tuma. They can, the Rabbanan made a gezer that if someone touches them, they can contract tuma. But a sefer, by definition, it's not a adam, it's not a kli, it's not a adam Yaakov, it's not a kli, it's not food. So by definition, it cannot become tameh. Okay, very good. Shkoyach Ran. V'idach mahi. What's the next one? The Tanakh, we learned in the Mishnah. Kol metaltalin mevinas hatuma ba'ovei amardeya. Right, all metaltalin, all movable objects. Metaltalin as opposed to karka. Just that you know that. Generally, everything boils down into either karka, which is the ground, not movable, or movable, metaltalin. So it's mevinas hatuma. It can bring tuma to be conveyed ba'ovei amardeya when it has the thickness of a goad. All right, what is a goad? A goad is a type of pole with a spike at one end, which is used to prod on animals. So we just have to give a little bit of introduction to the laws of Tumah and Tyra. There are three types of Tumah that can come from a mace. A mace, a dead body, is the Avi Avos, is the grandfather of all Tumah. It is the most stringent. There are three ways that a person can become Tameh. All right, I'll go through it just in general. There's Maga, Masa, and Ohel. Maga means touching, Masa means carrying, and Ohel. Today's focus is on Ohel. Ohel means if it creates a roof. I'm a Kohen. Ron Shimon is a Kohen. Right? Why can we not go into a funeral home? Because we are all under one roof. In that situation, when we're all under one roof, Midoraisa, the Tumah from the box spreads throughout the room, throughout the building, and therefore we will be Tameh Midoraisa. Someone who becomes Tameh Midoraisa needs a 7-day process of Tahara with the sprinkling of the ashes of the Paraduma, the mikvah, and so on and so forth. That's the most stringent. There's another way of being Ohel, which is if someone goes directly under or over the body of the mix. Forget about them being inside a building. You walk over a kever, or it's the second floor, you go directly underneath, it's a problem. I'm not going to get into it, but this is the potential for having issues with airliners. Remember those things that used to fly in the sky when we were younger? Anyway, that's sometimes a problem if they're carrying a mace on an airplane. It could be a problem. There are ways around it, according to many opinions. Now, the sugya of today is that in order for the Tumah to be able to, so again, on the last halacha, if a person is holding a pen on top of a mace, that pen, even though it's not under the roof, but it's directly above, will cause Tumah to the pen, or to a person, or whatever. Now, the halacha of Ohel, the halacha of under a roof, what defines a roof? Midoraisa, a roof is only if it is a tefach. It has to be at least a tefach wide, 4 inches wide. Okay? So then anything underneath it will receive that tumah. If you're underneath a roof or a slab that's over a mace that's 4 tefachim wide, then the person is under the oath.
Wait, is that wide is different than thick, right? Because
right, it means wide.
Okay, because canvas, like linen canvas of a tent, is by definition an OL.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
So
and that's not a tefach thick.
Right. So we're talking about a tefach wide. Now, the problem is, here's the gezer drabana. This goad, all right, this mardeya, is not a tefach wide in itself. It's only a third of a tefach. But knowing physics, if it's a third of a tefach wide and it's circular, so then its circumference will be a tefach. In short, the Rabbanan made a gezerah that any metal, any movable object, when they serve as an oil over a mace, mevina satuma. So if a person's carrying this mardeya, this goad, that is not a tefach wide, but it is a tefach wide in its circumference, so then that will bring tumah to the person. The goad will be an avatuma. Everything always goes one level down. The goad will be an avatuma. The person that's carrying it will become a
sheni.
Rish, right? One
Rishon.
lower, right?
Rishon.
Aviyah goes to the mace. The goad is av, and then the person would be a rishon. Whatever he touches would be a sheni. So the chachamim were geyser as the next takana b'shamai that it will bring tumah to the mardeya. Amr Tarfon says, "Oh my goodness, you rarely hear this. Akapeach is bonai. I'll cut off my children. This is an absolutely cut off halacha. Sheshama shomei b'tov. Reb Tarfon goes crazy. Reb Tarfon almost like curses himself. He was so upset that he heard halacha that was misinformed. He says, absolutely not. Nobody's going to make a comparison between something that is a tefach wide in actuality to a mardeya, which is not a tefach wide. Its circumference is a tefach. Why in the world should we enact that the person can become tamei over here because of that? No. If its circumference is not a tefach, it doesn't transmit the tumah. The person obviously heard a halacha, and he made a mistake in understanding it, and therefore compared the tefach to the circumference of a tefach. And the Gemara explains what was the situation that they were. Ha'ikar over umardei aksefai. Happened once that there was an ikar. I've never seen this word before to translate the farmer, but ha'ikar over umardei aksefai. There was once upon a time a farmer was walking with his goat on his shoulder, key on his shoulder, v'iyal tzidai al achas ala kever. And one of the ends of the goad went over and above this kever, this grave of that body. Timu, so the Chamim said that he's tamei. Why? Mashum kalim hamalim ala mace. Because these were kalim that went above a mace. Okay? So what happened over here was that part of this goad that the person was carrying, the person, make believe, I don't have a long thing over here, but make believe he was carrying this goad on his shoulder. Part of the goad extended and went over the chest. And they said over there that the person is tamei because of this halacha kalim. Now, who's making noise over there?
Ron, go to the back of the class.
Ron, mute your phone, or whoever it is, mute your phone. Okay. The goat passed over the grave, so that's like this keli that's lying above. So contracted tumah midoraisa. In other words, when a goat goes over a grave and it's above, we know midoraisa, it's directly above, and therefore it's tamei. Okay? If it's tamei, it will be tamei as an avatuma. The farmer would then contract tumah from the goat because he's holding it. Okay? So the farmer would be a rishon. And a rishon halacha is 1 day. 1 day he's tamei and he goes through the process and now he's tar. So the farmer over here didn't contract tumah directly from the mace, but through this goat, through the kli. Now the person heard about this and thought that the farmer became an avatuma. That's what he thought. And he'd have to wait a week. Now, the only way the farmer could really be an avatuma is if he himself became tamei from the mace. So he thought, this guy, that the goat must have constituted an ohel. The goat is a true ohel. And since it's over the shoulder of the farmer, so now the farmer becomes an avatuma. The problem is that the goat is not a tefach wide. The goat is only circular. Its circumference is a tefach.
Wait a minute. Where's the mace? Where is the mace?
In the ground.
Oh, the mace? The mace is buried. It's a kever.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? And he now is walking not directly over. He's walking next to it, but this goat that's protruding from his shoulder, that goes over. Midoraisa, the goat is navatuma. The person now is in contact with the goat. He becomes a rishon, and really only 1 day midoraisa. But the person thought that no. The person thought that, oh, the goat is a tefach, the person is an avatuma, and he's got to wait 7 days. Now, according to Tarfon, it's not true. The whole thing is a mistake because the goat is really not a tefach. Okay? So the goat is not really an ohel. The goat is an avatuma. The person is a rishon. As opposed to this mistaken listener He thought that the goat is an actual ohel. The goat will, of course, be tamei, but the person will be an avatoma.
Right.
And Rabbi said, that's ridiculous. Come on. People are not going to make that mistake. This guy was a farmer. This guy, because of this guy's mistake, we're not going to go and enact this whole halacha. It's got to be a tefach. Circumference of a tefach, people know the difference. So that's why he went nuts. Amar Rabbi Kiva comes along, Rabbi Kiva, and he makes shalom. And he explains, Ani yatakin. Says Rabbi Kiva 5 lines down now. Ani yatakin shiu divrei chachamim kayamin. Shiu kol l'metakim v'vis atuma ala adam shenoi says aboy b'emar Ve'al atzman b'chol shein. Ve'al shar adam v'kelim v'paiseach tefach. He says like this, all metaltalin can cause tumah to be brought on the person that's carrying them when they have this thickness, the circumference of a goad, which is a tefach. And upon themselves, meaning when they are themselves above a mace or a grave, they'll bring upon themselves tumah regardless of their thickness, because we already learned that if it's directly oil, it's directly oil and it becomes tamei. If al-shar the kalim and other persons or kalim b'bosei tefach, when they have a width of a tefach, when the movable objects, these metaltalin, are above the person or an article, it has to be posei tefach. It has to be at least a tefach wide. So what did he make shown? He said that the issue over here with the farmer was different than, let's just say you have a board that's over a dead body and it's only a board of tefach. That, we said, if the board is a tefach, midoraisa, everything makes sense. It will create an ohel, and the person, if he comes underneath it with the mace, would be an avatoma. The issue over here was that he was holding it on his body. That was the story. He wasn't just carrying it, or it wasn't just suspended. It was literally on him. And in that situation, that's where Rabbi Kiva said the Chachamim are going to be ma'ar. Okay? That they were geyser. That in that case where it's directly on him, that's where we can make a mistake of a circumference of a tefach because of one tefach. That is what's going on over here. Okay? Correct. As they say over here in the second paragraph on 17A1 on the right side, Rabbi Kiva is saying that when the Chum said that movables, metaltalin, cause tumah to be transmitted when they're as wide as a goad, meaning a third of a tefach, but in circumference, it is a tefach, it's when it's carried by the person. Since he carries it and touches it, he's really midoraisa, only a rishon. But since it can lead to mistakes, the Chum said that he is considered an abatuma. He has to go through a week-long tahara. Okay? That's what's going on over here. Okay, says the Gemara Viter. The Amr of Yanai, Rav Yanai says, Umardeya sha'amru, now it's just clarifying. This mardeya that they said, aim of tefach. Right? It doesn't have the thickness of the tefach, but v'yesh be'kefo tefach. It does have in its circumference a tefach. All right? So it forms an oil mace. If it's wide a tefach, it's asum b'deraisa. But if not, like over here, really it's only masur b'dabana. The gazer ala kefa mishum avyo, and Rabbana came along and made a gezerah that anything that has a circumference of a tefach will make an ohel over a mace and cause that type of tumah like a doraisa would, because it will get mixed up with something that is a regular tefach, not the circumference. Ulur tarfin, but according to Tarfin, the makapachas banai shalachasum kupachas batzulu. According to Tarfin, that said that this is a mistaken halacha. I'm not worried that they're going to get mixed up. Rabbi Kiva made shalom. Rabbi Kiva explained Beishamai. But Tarfin doesn't go for that. He said that a person should know the difference, and a person will know the difference. Don't give me the story with the farmer and the guy listening. That's his own issue. So he has one less gezerah. What does he fill the 18? He's missing this gezerah. Like we saw at the end yesterday. These young daughters of the Kusim, which were mostly considered Jewish, and they weren't necessarily makbid on the halachas of meat and stuff, he held that was the gezerah, that they are considered nida from babies, from the cradle. Ubi idach, and what about in respect to that other one which we talked about also yesterday, those forgotten kalim in the field that got filled up with the mikveh business? There was a machlekes remainder of see whether it could be included. Savar lo Rameir. He holds like Rameir, meaning the problem was that we used that case yesterday of the daughters of the kusim, that they're considered a nida from their cradle, as filling in for the issue of the forgotten vessels, where there was a machlekes that some said that they don't mekabel tumah. So what is he? So we're missing that one, because those people replaced the case of the forgotten kalim that filled up with shuavim with the case of an oskusim. So he already used that one. No, he holds like Rameir. In that case, he holds like Rameir, and that was included as the 10th. Rabbi Yossi was the one that said that it wouldn't be considered forgotten, and it wouldn't be makabel tumah, but Rameir held that would. So therefore, he held like Rameir, so he uses that case, but he doesn't have this case of the tefach in circumference of the mace, and therefore he uses the daughters of the kusim. So it's all good now. Okay, we got through the first difficult sugya. Now we have one more, the idach, and the rest are much easier, I believe. The idach, habotzer legas. Here's another case of Tuma and Tyra.
What's the first word on the line, please?
The next case, it's a 2 dots, mayor. It's about 14 lines down. It's the first word is mayor, then there's 2 dots.
Okay.
Idach. Got it?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Ve'idach, habotzer legas. There's a brisa that says like this. Just one second. Okay. Habotzer legas. If somebody is harvesting grapes, legas. Legas means for the wine press. So this now goes into Zach's territory. We know that there are 7 items, something to become tameh, food, in order to become tameh, needs to be muksher l'kabel tumah. It has to become susceptible. And the only way it can become susceptible to tumah is if one of the 7 liquids falls on it. Now it's wet, it can be muksher, it's susceptible to makabel tumah. Yad shachad dam. Right? We saw the different things. Now one of those things is wine. Another one of those things is oil. And then of course you have all the other things, milk and water and dew, and so on and so forth. So Shamai Omer, if somebody's harvesting grapes for the wine press, Shamai Omer Hosher. The grapes have become susceptible to tumah. Hillel Omer Lo Hosher. Hillel says they don't become susceptible to tumah. Okay? Now what's happening is, in order to be susceptible to tumah, the owner has to do it tumya de ki yitin, ki yitin ki yutam. We learned about this a few times, right? Certainly over the years, that he has to be pleased with the wetness that's on the grapes. So the juice that comes out of the grapes during the harvesting and goes to waste is not the type of liquid that the owner would be pleased with. So it wouldn't be muksha, it wouldn't be susceptible. But Shammai rules over here that hechsher does take effect, and the grapes are susceptible to tumah. So somebody is being botzer legas, he's harvesting grapes with tameh kalim, then they're going to contract tumah. If the grapes just go into the tameh vessels, but they're not wet, then they don't contract tumah. They're not susceptible to tumah. Okay, Shammai says if you're using these tameh kalim to harvest the grapes, they have to be used with tahar kalim. If they're used for tameh kalim, it's not going to work. Okay, we'll see soon. Hillel says no. Since the grapes are becoming wetted unintentionally, and the owner is upset that the juice that comes out is wasted, he's not interested in, when he puts these grapes, some of them get a little smushed, or as they're in the process of being harvested, some grape juice. By definition, what comes out of the grapes are grape juice. He's not interested in it. It does not become tameh. Amar lo Hillel l'Shammai. Hillel says to Shammai, right? Hillel said they're not mosher. You tell me that grapes have to be done with kalim that are tar, not kalim that are tameh. But if that's the case, then why do you hold that you don't have to go be mosek? Mosek is the same process of harvesting, just a different word, for olives. You hold that you have to be botzer b'taro with grapes, harvest with these kalim tahorim, with pure kosher tahar vessels, but not olives. Vosid chilik. What's the difference? Amrlo, Hillel, Beishamai answered him very sharply. Im takmiteni, if you're going to keep bothering me, gazrani tuma aval masika, then I'm going to be gazer tuma even in the case of harvesting olives. Lazmer up, let me go. Even olives become tame when they are wetted by their oil during the harvesting and then go into these tame kalim. Okay? Now, he explains over here that Shammai has a bunch of reasons. He really gave Hill a bunch of reasons why olives are different than grapes. Tosfos over here, on the second to bottom Tosfos, brings up Shah. It's a very big Kiddush. I didn't see the Chassam Sofer or the Svas Emes. Those are the later commentaries that deal with Tosfos. But Tosfos gives up Shah over here that the reason why olives are fundamentally different than grapes is because grapes, when the juice comes out, it's grape juice. Olives, when they're initially harvested, before they really become ripened, after they're harvested, it's not real oil. It's a little bit watery. It's a little bit watery, and therefore it's like sap, and they can't affect hechsher. It doesn't make hechsher l'kabel tuma. That's what Tosfos says. That could be the reason for Shammai. What's the problem that I have? Zach, help me out. And I didn't see the Chassam Sofer, but I assume that this is what maybe they say. Why is that not a good reason? Why do you think Hillel would not be happy with that, and why he went nuts over Shammai for the olives?
Because it's still wet. I mean, it's still like water. Either it's shemen or it's water. Like it's juice from the fruit. So it still is makabel tuma.
Right, that's what I would think. Very good. All right, we thought alike. So Amr Layim, Taniteni Gershom Avala Masika. Amru. So they said, Ha Nichnas Yikones. At that Netzra, I'm sorry. A Gazrani Cheret Natsu Cheret Beis HaMedrash. They stuck a sword in the Beis Medrash. This seemed to be the minhag that when they would take a vote, they would put a sword down in the Beis Medrash, and nobody could come in, nobody could leave. They have to come to the emes of the halacha. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, in the House of Commons, I saw not too long ago when they have those crazy debates. They have over there like a big sword in the middle of that table. No? Anyone ever see that? Yeah, I happened to see some of the Brexit.
I'll check Google.
Because it was like a Purim fiesta. Watching the House of Commons, if you're ever bored once, and you watch those people scream at each other, it's like it makes the Knesset look, dull. Anyway, and then the guy screams, order, order. But if you look on the table there's a big sword across that table. Okay? Anyway, lahavdil. You just wonder if, where that came from. But I wouldn't be surprised. Natsu Cher Beis HaMedrash. Amru, they said, Ha Nichnas Yukones. Whoever wants to come in can come in. Whoever wants to leave cannot leave. But on that day, Haya Hillel Hafuf. Hillel was bent, right? Meaning he was submissive. First word in the line is Ke'echad. And he sat before Shammai like one of the Talmidim. And that day was a very difficult day for Klal Yisrael, like the day that Klal Yisrael served the Egel, because the way they treated Hillel was inappropriate, and it was a big bizayon for the Torah. It was a disgrace, and it was like the day that the Egel was done. What's the comparison to the Egel? It was just like by the Egel. Anyone that listened to Rabbi Ben Chorin's thing on the Parsha, raise your hand if you listened. No hands are going up. You should all be embarrassed. Rabbi Ben Chorin sent off. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. Well, another one was put up today of me. How many people listened to that with the coffee? Not too many hands.
No, I listened to.
I'll be testing you tomorrow. Rabbi Ben Chorin talked about that Betzalel came from three distinct people: Miriam, Chor, and Nachshon and Aminadav. Anyway, they all had common that they were Moser Nefesh. they self-sacrifice. But anyway, Chor specifically.
Actually, I did listen to part of it.
Okay.
Now that you mention that, yes.
You can raise your left hand instead of your right hand. Okay. Your battery must have died in the middle. So so what happened? Chor was the one that what? Protested the Egel. He was the only one. Okay, Aaron also wasn't interested. In the end, why he went along. But Chor was the one that Mamish made a massive protest, and what happened? He was killed. Chor, Betzalel ben Uri ben Chor. So that's why it was bad, like the day of the Egel. He was sticking up for the emes, and it was a humiliation. Thank God they didn't kill him. Anyway, the Gazer, Shammai, the Hillel. And Shammai and Hillel actually made a gezerah, the actual Shammai and Hillel, not their yeshivas. What Kiblu Minayu. So Talmidayu Gazer came along later on, the Talmidim, and they made a gezerah again on this halacha that you have to be boitzer lagas. You have to go and harvest the grapes for the wine press in a state of tahara, like Beis Shammai, that holds that flow that comes from the grapes, even though he's not so happy with it, people will get mixed up. The Kiblu Minayu, and they accepted it. My taima, Reb Ziri, Reb Chanina. Reb Ziri says in Reb Chanina, Gezerah Shema Yivtzerena Bekupas Tameas. Right, we wanted to make a shmira against the possibility that somebody will harvest the grapes into tame baskets, and then everything will become tame. Okay, if they're harvested in tame baskets, and some of the juice comes from the grapes, the juice will acquire tuma from the basket and make the grapes muksher, and then they'll contract tuma from the tame liquid, and it's no good. Shammai was worried about that, and people will think that the grapes have not undergone hechsher, and they don't contract tuma, and therefore he said, period. Whenever anyone is harvesting grapes and some juice comes from them, they're regarded as having hechsher l'kabel tuma, and right away they're muksher. Okay? All right. According to this, he just speaks out that it doesn't matter whether they're harvesting it for the wine press or to be eaten. We're worried about the tame basket. Says the Gemara Viter, this answer makes sense. Lamanda Amar, Kli Tame Choshen Mashkin. A tame kli will make mashkin significant. Shapir. El Lamanda Amar, Kli Tame Choshen Mashkin, Michael Meimar. Right? There's a machlokes tanam whether liquid that unwillingly comes, that's in a tame kli, is considered prominent to be considered mashkin, a liquid, contract tuma, and make it muksher, separately from tuma. All right, so if you hold a tame kalim, do make the liquid significant, it makes sense. But there are others that hold that it's not significant at that point. Ella Amar Ziri and Chanina, you're right. We're worried that maybe people will harvest the grapes into baskets that are smeared, that are pitched with tar, and therefore nothing flows out of them. They're waterproof. All right, if you do it like that, then certainly, why is he doing it into such a basket? Because he wants the juice to collect in there, and then it is considered kiyitain or kiyutan. He's happy with it. It's considered l'rutzen. And therefore, they're going to be musher by the juice that comes out of that. So because of that case, the Beis Shammai, the Chacham decreed that anyone that harvests grapes, even in an online basket, where the juice does go to waste, they're considered musher l'kabel tuma, so that they shouldn't get mixed up with these other baskets. Okay, he speaks out over here that this decree applies when one harvests for the wine press, in the case where there's no concern that it'll collect the juice in a waterproof basket. In that case, there's a concern that he's going to collect the juice in a waterproof basket. But if on the other hand, one harvests for the sake of eating the grapes or making raisins, the owner is definitely not interested in collecting any juice, and the decree does not apply. Okay, so here it would be for the wine press. Rava Amar, Rava says a different reason. Gezer Mishum Anoshchas. The decree was enacted over here by Beis Shammai as a shmira, a gezer against the possibility of noshchos, clusters that cling together. Go ahead, Adam, 31.
When the clusters cling together, the owner has to separate them, and thereby it is inevitable that he squeezes some juice from the grapes, which then wets them. Although, in fact, the owner might not be pleased with the wasted juice, nevertheless, it affects hechsher because he intentionally separated the clusters and the squeezing was an inevitable consequence. An inevitable consequence of an intentional act itself has the status of an intentional act.
Whoa. You read over something very important we're going to need for the rest of Shabbos. Sick ratio.
Sick
An
ratio.
inevitable consequence of an intentional act. Sick ratio. Right? Which really means that if you cut off the head of a bird, what do you think? It's not going to die? Gesundheit, Fred. All right? If you cut off the head of a bird, of course it's going to die. So it may be an unintended consequence, but it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Since the person was obviously aware of the consequences and he nevertheless went ahead and acted, his intention covers both his primary act and the secondary consequence.
Right. And Reb Nachman explains. Reb Nachman Amar, it's not really over here. He doesn't explain it as a continuation. But the point is that over here we made a gezerah that they will be considered mushal l'kabel tuma, and they will be considered now susceptible and tummy, become tummy. Reb Nachman Amar Rabba bar Avua, hamim shadam ha'ilach karmai. Sometimes a person will go into his keren, his vineyard, lay them to find out whether the grapes are ripened for harvesting, olo or not. He'll take a cluster of grapes in order to squeeze it out. It's similar to the last, but a little bit different. Here, in the process of the squeezing, what's going to happen is some of the juice is going to sprinkle onto the other grapes, okay, that are still connected to the vineyard over here. Over here, the squeezing is done intentionally, and therefore, it makes the other grapes muhsher, susceptible to kabel tumah. And therefore, to protect this case, they said all harvested grapes should be considered that they are muhsher l'kabel tumah. Because what happened is, b'shas petzira, at the time of the harvesting, adayin mashke tefeach aleim. The liquid is still wet on them, and normally, if it's still connected to the ground, let's just say you have grapes in the vineyard, or you have whatever, you're growing cherry tomatoes or cucumbers, and you water the garden, if they're connected to the ground, that does not make the item mushal l'kabel tumah if it's connected. But over here, the Gemara's cases where he sprinkled or it spritzed from these grapes onto these other grapes, and they're still wet while you pick them. That's a problem. Okay? The Ida, fine. So that's the next. The Ida. What's the next of the Shemona Esrei Gzeres? Amar Tavi Rishba, Amar Shmuel. Tavi Rishba, Rashi says that Rishba and Nishba, they're interchangeable, a Resh and a Nun, like Ben and Bar, right? Zechariah Natan Ben Michal Avram, or Zechariah Natan Bar Michal Avram. So it means someone who is a hunter. He spreads and everything. So either Tavi the hunter or somebody else, I think, says that Rishba, the Aruch over here says Rishba is an acronym for Resh Bez Beis Av. He was the leader of his father's household. Af Gidule Truma Bobiam Gazru. They also made a halacha that Gidule Truma, anything that grows from Truma, is considered Truma. Okay, the halacha is that if, let's say, because my good friend says, you know what? Right now, I only know you as a Kohen. I don't know Ron Cohen yet. So I'm going to give you my truma. Midoraisa, if I go and plant that, whatever he gave me, that vegetable, and I plant it, whatever grows, the new cucumber, the new vegetable, is not considered truma midoraisa. Rather, it is chulin. That's the opposite of truma. It's chulin midoraisa. All right, and then I can give it back to Rabbi Paul, and he can eat it because, again, once trumas and meisters, the tithings are taken off, he can eat it.
Gentlemen, I got to leave you. Have a good day.
Okay, take care.
Good day. Yeah.
Take care, Jack. Be well. Be safe. You doing okay?
Yep, I have to go move Talia out of school.
Oh, he's not home yet?
She's home, but they called that there's no more school this year to get your stuff out.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Be careful going into that school.
I hope so. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.
Have a safe trip there and back.
Thank you.
Okay. So over here, they made a gezerah that the growth of truma should be considered truma, and therefore it would be usher. In the case of Rabbi Paul, giving me his truma, if I went and planted it, it is still considered truma midirabbanan. Why? My time. We're worried about truma tahara, which belongs to a Yisrael, a non-Kohen, right? Paul, Fred, Adam, Zach, right? Any of those, you're going to go and hold back Kohanim if they're due, right? Instead, you'll plant it, and then, hey, who's there?
It's Jack.
Mute your phone. Let me see if I can mute him. I don't know if I can mute him.
You can mute everybody underneath in the bottom.
Oh. All right. Meanwhile, we don't hear. You hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So what's the reason? We're worried over here that a stingy Yisrael could easily hold back from giving the credit to Truma because he's going to go plant it and convert it to Chulin. So therefore, the Rabbanan said that all growth of Truma is considered Truma, and therefore will be forced to give it to a Kohen. Rava says, hold on. Right? If Yidden are suspected of doing this, then they're not going to separate it in the first place. Why? Because they can really do it with a tiny amount. You're allowed to separate one little grain of truma, like Shmuel said. Okay, Shmuel said that a little grain of truma can pater an entire kri, can pater an entire pile from the obligation of truma. Hemnu v'loika of it, and he didn't do so. He did more. Hemune mehemne. Obviously, he's trusted. So come on, you're really worried about that? You're right. It's a little bit different. The reason why they said that gedule truma, the growth of truma, once it's replanted, is considered truma, is because you'll have truma that is tamei that belongs to a kohen. Dilma mashi lagabe, maybe he'll keep it in his possession until it's time to be able to plant. But asuli de takala. The halacha is truma that's tar and tamei has to be given to a kohen. Obviously, if it's tar, it can be eaten, and truma that's tamei can't be eaten, but it has to be burnt. It can be used for the fireplace, the kohen's fireplace, or for cooking or anything else. So the hana is very minimal, but the kohen might want to go. Now it's against me and Ron. The kohen might abuse it and hold it until he can plant it, and then say, okay, whatever grows from it, it's the actual, what I planted is tamei, but what grows is tar midaraisa. and what may happen is he'll end up holding on to it, and then it'll become spoiled or not spoiled. He's going to come to eat it with that time, and we were worried. So the Chum didn't want to make a difference. They said all truma, which is tar, it will become remain tahar even if it is planted. Okay. That is the next gezerah. The idach. What's the next gezerah? All right. This is a mishnah actually in the Gemara Shabbos, way later, all the way at the end. Somebody who is carrying muktzah. All right, and now Shabbos is coming along. He miscalculated. He thought he'd be home by then. So the joke goes, what's the difference between a religious and non-religious Yid? He's driving home right before Shabbos and he's stuck in traffic. So the religious Yid's going to have to park his car and walk and figure it out. The non-religious Yid takes off his watch, chucks it out the window, and keeps going.
I heard that very differently. I heard that with the difference between a Baal Tshuva and an FFB is that the Baal Tshuva is checking his watch, getting worried, and he finally stops the car and starts walking. And the FFB is checking his watch, getting a little bit worried. Then he decides to take off his watch and put it in the glove box and keeps driving.
Right. Exactly. All right. Either way, it's just a joke. This halacha of the Mishnah, if it's getting dark and now he's on the road. He should give his wallet or his phone or whatever it is to a guy or anything else if there's no Erev. Give it to a guy, They enacted it on that day. Okay, now this is interesting because this is a heter. Normally there would be a problem of Amir La'akum, of giving instruction to a guy. Over here he's allowed to give it to a guy. He's not allowed to carry it. And even though there were other ways that you can get around it. There are other ways you can get around it. We saw.
Yeah, but does he have to
You can walk down
do hefker?
sure enough to walk down Amis and then stop. Right? And then walk again 3 Amis and stop. The problem is that we were worried that a person will mix up, especially if it's a long distance, and go more than 4 Amis. But over here, even though normally you're not allowed to tell a guy to do a melacha that's usher for you, he can't do it for you on Shabbos. He's Rabbanan were lenient, right? Because they realize that a person's not going to abandon his purse, and instead they will continue carrying it, and that would be terrible. So they felt over here that they could permit a minor Amir La'akum, which is more minor than Hotzah. All right.
Rabbi Rappaport,
Yes, dear.
do you have to do a hefker after you give it to him, to the wallet, or no?
No.
You don't
it's
have
still
to.
yours. You don't have
It's
to.
still yours.
But I did
Okay.
see something going around that this year, be very careful when you sell your hummus to a guy because he may end up keeping it depending on what happens, with the store shelves and everything. For Pesach.
What do
He
you
may
mean?
end up keeping all the hummus of everybody because there's not going to be anything at Walmart and Amazon's not delivering anymore for a while, it seems.
Well, according to the law, he can keep it. You know that.
Of course.
It's his.
Ve'ida, what's the next one? Bali, Avimi Sanvasa. Bali said the name of Avimi from Sanvasa, Pitan, Ushman, and Vienam, they say him. These are 4. We'll knock the last 4 out in one line. The Isser of bread, oil, wine, and the daughters of idolaters, they're all part of the 18 Gezeros. Right? These are all one. All right? And we said that all of these Issurim, don't eat bread that was baked by a guy. All right? Again, this is not commercial, but if an individual baked it, it can lead to intermarriage. All right? Same thing with the oil and wine. Wine is even more chomer. You can't even get benefit. Generally, we're worried that you're going to come to drink bread or drink wine and so on and so forth. It could lead to terrible averos. And even though the last one is marrying a guy is asur midaraisa, as the pasuk says, "Less is chatem bohem," but even to have illicit relationships, he explains over here, with a guy out of wedlock was prohibited by Bezin of the Chashmonaim, and Beisham Beis Hillel decreed a prohibition on being secluded alone with a guy. That's what was going over here, right? Of course, living with, whether married or not married, is an isser. Getting married or out of wedlock came along the Beisham and said even yichud.
But isn't yichud with any unmarried person, or yichud with anybody is prohibited?
Yeah.
No, well, you're asking that yichud with a yid. I don't know. No, here's the problem.
Because there's chashad there in any event.
Where's chashad? You're right. Of course, we're worried about a single going out with a single boy, a single guy, and so on. A single boy and a single girl.
Not even single though. Any 2 individuals that are not permitted to each other.
Correct. Over here, midoraisa by a guy. Here, midoraisa by a guy, only living with them would be usher. And I guess the chachamim over here is where they enacted that even yichud by a guy would be a problem. That's the point. You're right. It is. But yichud it could be is less of a gzeir daraisa drabanan by a yid. By a yid, it could be it's more included in the lysikvu legalis arbasa. It could be that's midaraisa. I have to double check. It could be that's midaraisa. Yichud by a yid could be daraisa. By a guy, it's drabanan. Okay. Hanichol this is good according to Meir. We've got 18. El Rabbi Yossi Shafsri Havin.
Question. If you can't eat in a goy house because mishum chatnut, so kal vachomer the tichudu should be asur too. Does that make sense?
Well, even if there are other people, you shouldn't be eating in a guy's house. Here,
That's why I said mishum chatnut. So if that is asur,
this is
if
chatnut.
that asur is kal vachomer, the tichud with goy will be asur.
No, that's asur. That could be asur because of yichud also, right?
No,
that could be. Each one has its miling, even if there's no food involved, it will be asur. Let's go a little further. I want to try to finish up quickly. Hanich or Meir, Eller Yosef Shifsri Haben. There's only 17 because he was the one that said by those forgotten kalim that didn't count as a gzera. Ikader Rachabar Yaakov, the Amar Rachabar Barada, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Gozra Apita Mishum Shmanam, Val Shmanam Mishum Yenam. All right, they made a decree on the Isser of bread of Avodah Zarah, of Goyim that serve Avodah Zarah, on account of their oil, and on their oil on account of their wine. Okay, that's what was Ravada said. The decrees over before bread, oil, wine, and the daughter of idolaters. And then he said a new one. What's the new one? That he said the prohibition of bread was enacted to strengthen the prohibition of oil. And they forbade their bread so people shouldn't come to partake in the oil. Which means that the oil obviously is more likely for an Isser. What are you going to tell me that there's a gezerah of shemen because of bread? That means that there's more of a reason to make a gezerah on oil over bread. Why is oil more eligible than bread for Isser in the first place? Ella, the Gemara clarifies, Gazra al pitan vishamnam mishum yenam. This was like an extra decree. They made a decree to prohibit their bread and oil because of the wine. Okay, wine is more eligible for an Isser because people drink it socially at social gatherings, and it's also alcoholic, and people can get drunk, and then there are more Issurim. And they made an Isser on their wine because of their daughters, so that one shouldn't be alone with one of their daughters. And their daughters are there because of something else, meaning Avodah Zarah itself. And they also decreed on something else because of something else. What's that referring to? This is a new decree, not yet mentioned, and that is what we're referring to. This is a new decree, not yet mentioned, which Gemara states is the 18th enactment, because there's no connection with the previous decree of bread, oil, wine, and daughters. My davar acher. What is this davar acher? Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yitzchak. Gozra tinik nachri netame beziva shleya tinik Yisrael ragel esay. They made now a whole nother gezerah beyond this, which would be according to Rabbi Yossi the 18th. Gozra tinik nachri beziva shleya tinik Yisrael ragel esay. They said that a non-Jewish child, a Goyish child, will become tameh or has the din, the state of a Zav, who is Tameh, even if they have no emissions like a Zav. This non-Jewish child is considered an Avatuma, like a Zav, and he will then be Metame Adam and Kalim by contact, in order so that the Jews shouldn't associate with him. That's what Rashi says, that's the 18th. We don't want a Jewish child to associate with him, Mishka Zachar, for the purpose of sodomy. All right? Well, if that's the case, according to a mayor, then we would have 19. You have this Gentile children to add to the list. That's 19. Says the Gemara, if you remember, we had food and kalim that contracted tumah from liquids, that becomes a sheni for tumah. He holds that those are all one. Okay?
I have a question. Hold on. Question.
Yossi and Reb Tarfon, they hold that this is two separate ones. You have to go back. By the way, on your own time, take a look at 18. Number 19. Number 19 on 17b2. goes through a review of all of the 18 Xeris. Yes.
Well, the non-Jew boy, what is it exactly again?
They said that he has a halacha, the status of a zav, and he is tameh. Even if he never saw any zivus, any type of emission, he's considered an avatuma. Okay, because we don't want to be in contact and associate and become friendly. It may
So
lead
you can have
to
you can have your son play with the goy. That's what you tell me.
I'm not, Ron. You're asking a specific question because I know
That is specific. I know. But what's the verdict on that?
Ask your local Orthodox rabbi.
You are my local Orthodox rabbi.
Okay, you have shmira. If you have shmira, then it should be okay.
If you have shmira, it's okay. Okay.
Okay.
Outside in the Shusarabim or in the Carmelists at the playground, it's okay. But play dates in non-Jews' houses, no way.
No, non-Jews' houses, no way.
No way.
It could be if there's shmira or whatever it is. You have to know.
If there's shmira, right.
If the grandma is there and the shmira or the parents are there, you have to worry about it.
No, I mean, it depends on who the parents are and how understanding they are. But people give kids snacks to eat and everything else, and you don't know what
100%. The point is that 100% it needs shmir. You have to be on top of it. For example, if your child goes to a non-Jew's house, especially if they're younger, and they don't know what they're giving them, they could easily inadvertently, non-intentionally feed them food that's not kosher. So
but if the son,
very smart in their decision.
But back then the kids were very smart. They knew that it wasn't permitted.
Not necessarily. No.
I mean, it depends on how old the kids are too. What age you're talking about. It's and the kid itself. It's different. Each situation is different. So you got to ask your local posek.
Okay, hold on a second. Did Adam get off or no? If you want, who wants to spend 5 minutes? We'll do the Mishnah. Anybody up for it or not?
No, I think the rabbi needs the. There's another class coming on.
I have another class coming too. I have to go.
Okay, very good. We'll do it tomorrow, 7:15 sharp. Everyone.
Okay, Yashar Koach, thank you very much.
Yes, Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Everybody. Bye. Oh, Zach.